On today's podcast, I'm joined by Majella Galvin of DNG Galvin, a chartered estate agent, Rick's valuer, and one of the most respected voices in Irish estate agency. This conversation dives into valuations, trust, marketing that actually works, and the standards required to build a reputation that lasts. Hope you enjoy the podcast. If you're an estate agent that wants to stay ahead of the competition and to make more profits, then you need to talk to Iceberg Digital. Iceberg doesn't just sit alongside your CRM system, it replaces it. It's the UK's leading AI operating CRM system for estate agents, combining your CRM system, prospecting, marketing, website, and compliance all in one ecosystem. Your CRM system becomes fully automated, taking care of those repetitive tasks your team shouldn't be doing. Your prospecting runs 24/7, scanning the portals, capturing property addresses, matching them with your database, and sending them personal outreach faster than any human ever could. Your marketing is automatically written to match your tone of voice. Blogs, property descriptions, vendor updates, all done for you. And your website becomes AI driven, adapting to each visitor in real time and making your agency discoverable on Google and also on tools like ChatGPT. Agents across the UK are already using Iceberg to run a leaner, smarter, and more profitable business. Visit icebergdigital.co.uk and mention the Estate and Consultancy podcast when you book your demo to get an exclusive perk. Majella, welcome to the podcast. I feel this is very a long time overdue because I see you on LinkedIn all the time, always winning awards, always in the paper. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Chris, for the invitation. I feel I know you personally from all online, as we say.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's a good place to start things off. So you are property through and through. You've grown up with property around you, around yourself. So talk me through the sort of journey you've had there from when you first started to where we are today.
Property's in my blood, Chris. I suppose growing up, I always wanted to be an estate agent. And the highlight of my week would be to go out with my dad on Saturday viewings. And he was also an estate agent. And I may have only been holding a camera or holding a jotter, but it was a big, big event for me. So I suppose I grew to love property, grew to love meeting people, seeing properties, and then did summer work in the office, and eventually after my leaving cert went to college to study estate agency.
Wow. So you really are property through and through.
I do love it.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey, Chris. I did 3 years in college in Cork. At the time, there was no degree for estate agents in Ireland, so I went to the University of Reading in the UK, got my degree there, came back, worked in Dublin for a while, and then I joined the Society of Chartered Surveyors Ireland and the RICS, and I went on to do my chartership there. So it's a continuous learning process, and always will be for me, I think.
So talk me through, because obviously based in England and Wales, etc., the qualification level is pretty low for estate agencies over here because obviously it's, you don't need any kind of formal qualification at all. I mean, that might be coming down the line with various things sort of in the pipeline. But at the moment, you don't need anything. So over in Ireland, are you obligated to have a certain level of qualifications before you can kind of get loose on the world?
Yeah. So we'd be regulated here in Ireland. You have to have a minimum of a 2-year certificate course done in college before you get your license. So that's the very minimum. Obviously then, you climb the ladder and things after that, but that is the minimum entry.
And this might be a stupid question, but I presume you can fail that course. It isn't like when you do like your CPT for a moped where it's like, as long as you turn up and like don't kill anybody, then you get it.
You have your exams, you have your projects, and so absolutely. But it's a full-time course, but they've in the last few years they've introduced an apprenticeship estate agency course, and that seems to be great because they're in college 1 day a week and they're out in the workplace every other day. So they really are getting the best of both worlds.
Brilliant. And is my research correct in saying that you were the first female chartered estate agent in West Cork? Is that a good bit of research?
Absolutely. Well done, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So did that come with extra pressure, do you think, being the first female chartered estate agent? Or how did you find that?
I enjoyed the process. Now, it was a tough process. There was we there was a lot of academic side to it. There was a lot of practical side to it. There was a lot of head downs. But I had to say I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed, I suppose, getting that level of knowledge above others. Not being, dismissing in any way, but I suppose to me, the more I know, the better service I can provide to my clients and the better information they will have to make decisions. But I enjoyed the process. It was a 2-year process on top of my degree, and I definitely would highly recommend it.
I love it. I love the qualification stuff. I think we had Michael Day on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I think he's got more letters after his name than he's got in his name, which is
Sure.
yeah, which is quite a good one. I think you probably can't be too far behind.
We're catching up. But I suppose we went on. I'm quite involved with the Society of Chartered Surveyors in Ireland as well. And, I'm involved on committees there and mentorship programs. So it's great to, I suppose, connect with others in the industry as well.
And so where you are a chartered estate agent and you're also a registered valuer as well.
Yeah. So registered RICS valuer.
How does that change when you go to change things when you go and value a property? So you're sat in front of Miss and Mrs. Jones and you're talking about the value of property. How does that chartered side of things, how does that sort of registration, how does that change the valuing conversation from sort of what we would see as sort of a normal inverted commas conversation over here?
Well, I suppose the big thing that a lot of people don't understand is the difference between an appraisal and a valuation. So, an appraisal being like an estate agent going out to your house to give you an idea how much it's likely to fetch in the open market, whereas a valuation is, it's a report. It's really structured. So there is a difference there. The other thing I suppose is that the amount of qualifications that you have to go by to get your registered status as a valuer, and the continuous education. You have to do so many hours a year for that as well. So it's the other thing, of course, the big thing is that it's regulated, and you could be interviewed, you could be, it's monitored as well. So I think there's definitely more assurance for our clients for that.
And if I was, so are there other agents in Ireland who aren't sort of signed up to the same scheme, so therefore they can sort of value the property sort of whatever they want, inverted commas, or is everybody under that same sort of rule book?
Well, I mean, every agent will have to have the 2-year certificate done, so they'll have some standard evaluation. But you'll notice that, a lot of panels in Ireland, like banks, different organisations, will strictly put down that they want an RICS value or certain level of valuation doing. So that's one thing. But you get the person who's out there just getting looking for evaluation for their house, maybe even not for sale, maybe probate or fair deal, they may not require um, the registered valuation. But I suppose it's going back to the quality of the service, Chris. When you're getting a valuation of your property, what you're going to do with that information is going to be a big decision. So, you want the agent or the valuer who will give you, the most comprehensive, accurate report there.
And how easy is it to, I'm trying not to use the word sell. How is it to kind of convince and demonstrate to a potential client that they should kind of care about your qualifications and sort of what you've got behind you? Because if I, let's say, for example, you came to value my property at like £400,000, for example, but I had someone who wasn't qualified and they came an extra £25,000 above that, there's always that bit of going, yeah, I get your qualifications here, Majella, but they're saying an extra £25,000 sort of thing. So how hard do you find that conversation?
Well, I think that the first thing is, if it's a case for a property going for sale, um, I always say we can give an opinion, but it's the market will dictate the price. It's not what anyone thinks it is. We give an opinion, and it's the market will ultimately dictate the price, and we do everything we can to achieve that price and more. So, I would always like to approach clients and give a very honest opinion. I may not come in with the highest if I don't think it's realistic. I always like to give, I'm not the type of agent that wants to come in and win the sale by blowing a price up, because I feel that's misleading. So I like to come in with a realistic price, give my bearings why I got that price. So if I can back up why I got that price, that's the main thing for me. And I'd always say to people, if somebody gave 100,000 more in evaluation, that's fine. But have they provided evidence to support that value?
So let's talk about marketing because I think you've won award or awards for creative marketing. What does good marketing look like in a state agency, do you think, in 2026?
I think marketing is constantly changing, Chris. Like especially in the last 5 years, and I suppose the pandemic took that off really. But what does good marketing look like? I think it's all about, it's not just the property, it's the lifestyle, the area, that people, the lifestyle people can get when they buy that property, and the amenities they'll be near. It's going beyond the bricks and mortar.
It's funny, isn't it, when you look at property particulars, and I can, certainly vouch for this. You go back 20 years or so, and you look at a set of property particulars. There's no lifestyle factor on it whatsoever. It's skim ceiling and cove window and UPVC window overlooking front aspect and double radiator. There's no sort of like, imagine waking yourself up on this day and having a
Yeah.
cup of coffee and your kids run to your garden. So there's no sort of aspiration or lifestyle there. It's just like, this is a house. It's made out of bricks. It's got a roof. What more do you want?
And I think a lot of that as well is how we communicate, because, you know, back then all they had was, print and paper, the old brochure style. I remember doing it with my dad. You'd go out and you'd take the photo and you'd come back to the chemist, and you'd have to wait till the next day to get the film, and you'd stick on the picture then to an A4 sheet, and that was your brochure. So I mean, most days people don't read brochures. They don't read a lot of text. So what we're looking for is bullet points, key selling features, and mainly showcase to them as both through video or photograph.
Mm. 'Cause, am I right in saying you attract a lot of international buyers where you're
Y-
based? So West Cork, you get a lot of international buyers, I guess, either moving over there or buying second homes, for example. So how do you appeal to that international market?
So D&G are affiliated with Hamptons International, so we would have a large database of international buyers registered with us. But I suppose the area in West Cork sells it itself. People love the climate here, they love the area. We're getting a lot of Americans choosing here as well. How do we sell it? We go out there and we showcase it. Whether it's looking at the local beaches, whether it's looking at the local restaurants, and the areas, the amenities, the schools. I suppose it's the area we live in that we showcase that people want to buy in.
How hard is it to keep a straight face when you get lots of American clients come over telling you that they're Irish? But no, no, I'm Irish.
There's some relation always there.
It's absolutely my cousin's mother's grandmother's cat once meant, once what
Seems pub.
yeah, there's something there. So let's talk about personal brand, because I know you from LinkedIn. I see you post articles all the time. I see you in the press all the time. Is that a choice you've made at some point to go, I'm going to have a personal brand and put myself out there? Or is that something that you just by leading a business these days, you think actually that is just part and parcel?
I think it was a kind of a mixture really, Chris. I think, when my father was always in the business with us, and he passed away suddenly a few years ago, and my sister and I took over the business, but he was the business owner. People were ringing looking for Michael, not his daughters. So it was time that we had to establish our own profile. And it was a time that to get out there, I suppose. And I feel, I stepped up to it, and I probably built my profile a lot more than I expected to. Um, I don't feel like it may look I put a lot of work into it, but one thing led to another. I connected with different people. I love what I'm doing, and I think that all went with it. And your question about is it part of the business? 100%. Um, I think it's a people business, and brands are not as important. They go with the person. And I think you need to get yourself out there as a business leader.
I can completely agree. I think it's sort of that strength in personal brand these days. And is it something that's come naturally to yourself? Because obviously, I watch your video content. I think you come across very well. I listen to the stuff you do online. And it comes across very well. Is it are you naturally quite good at that stuff, or have you had to work on it over time?
I think I would always be a very outgoing person. I don't look for perfection in my videos, and I think that takes the pressure off. So it was never something I found hard, but it does get easier and easier each time.
So I hope I'm okay to ask this question. If I'm not, tell me to bugger off. But it must have been really hard having lost your father, which is a hard thing to go through for anybody. But it must be really hard to then, I don't know how to phrase this, step in their shoes slightly in the business. And I can only imagine how hard it must be working in a business where you've got people who phone up after, 2, 3 years down the line sort of thing and say, oh, can I speak to your father? And you go, well, no, you can't actually. How did you deal with that? Because I can't imagine how you'd cope with that sort of um, reminders or chapter of your life, whatever it may be. How did you get through that?
Interesting. I suppose my father was a very, very positive man, and I was lucky. I think I took that trait from him, having spent a lot of time with him. We were very close, but obviously it was a very, very upsetting period for me. And going back to work, getting those calls, looking for Michael, how is Michael? All these questions, it was like a sword in my stomach. There's no doubt about it. But I suppose what really helped me was I would tell them the news and they would go on about a story. They would a story that they had a conversation with my dad. He sold them such a house, etc. And it really brought warmth and, I could picture him there. And that was very soothing to me. And to this day, I can talk about it because it's all very happy memories. It was great to hear all clients talk so well about him. So I found that very soothing.
Oh, well, I think I'm safe to say this. I'm sure he'd be very proud about how well you've done and how you've taken the business. I'm sure he's very proud to say the least. So let's talk about sort of the press side of things because I've seen lots of articles by you. You seem to be in every magazine under the sun, according to LinkedIn. Has that been a purpose led thing you've focused on? Because I had Simon Ledbetter on the podcast quite a few times, and I think every time he's come on, he's like the one thing that agents aren't very good at is PR and getting themselves in the paper and getting themselves on the radio. But you seem to be in there all the time. Is that something you purposely try and do, or do you get kind of seek for you these days? They come after you and say, actually, Majella is the expert.
I think it's at the moment I'm given the opportunities, I suppose I do write a lot of blogs. I am very active in social media. I'm involved in a good few networks and, you know, papers approach me, the radio approach me, and I'm a type of person that will never say no. So, and that has built up over the years.
Do you ever get any kind of imposter syndrome in those situations? People come forward to you and say, "Oh, Majella, you're the expert on this. Can you write an article on this?" Or we need a quote about this, government thing that's going on. Do you ever think to yourself, "God, blimey, I'm just Majella," sort of thing?
I think that happens to us all at times, but I think it's going back to, asking myself the question, do I know enough about this subject? What research can I do to provide the best possible advice out there? And the way I look at it is, by me sharing my advice, I'm helping somebody on the property ladder.
And I suppose that's probably the big angle for marketing these days, full stop, like kind of thinking out loud here. Because I think historical marketing used to be sort of, what's in it for me sort of thing. We're a business and we want to take your house on the market and we want to do this and we want to sell this and you to buy this, etc. Where I think these days marketing is more based around actually how can I help you? And how can I help you as much as I possibly can do? Free stuff, free content, free blogs, free PR stuff, free videos, whatever it may be. And if you like that, just give us a message and we've got loads of stuff behind the scenes, but you have to pay for it. But it's significantly more than you would do for free sort of thing. Do you think that's kind of the direction marketing has moved on over the last 20 years or so?
I totally agree. Totally agree. And I suppose the other thing involved, the nature of somebody thinking of selling their property, it's not a decision somebody makes overnight. So we could go out to somebody and it's a year after they'll actually instruct us to go to the market. But during that year, they're reading our blogs, they're looking at us on social media. If they've questions, they're contacting us. So it's all the value that we can give them and the help that we can give them to make that decision.
And I suppose it's all about the silent audience, isn't it? Because look, we're all guilty of looking at a social media post and go, "Oh, I only got 1,000 impressions or 500 impressions or I only got 6 likes or something like that." When really it's like a little, you still got in front of 500 people or 1,000 people. And if I said to you, Magella, there's a room of 1,000 people next door who you're going to talk about property for the next 10 minutes, you'd be like, oh my God, that's a lot of people. That's something to be worried about. Whereas I think people lose sight of the numbers with regard to social media and actually how great that is. And not only warming up a new audience, but also keeping the audience you've been to see, been to value, keeping you sort of front and center on their mind.
Yeah, and I always say it's quality over quantity, I suppose, like, and you'll find that a lot of your customers are looking at you, but they're not liking your posts, they're not sharing your posts, but they're watching you.
So let's talk about how you've grown your business. You've got a fantastic business where you're based. What sort of systems and habits have you put in place to sort of keep the consistency, keep the business growing? What have you put in place to kind of really make the business bloom?
I suppose, well, one thing we're part of the G network with 80 offices throughout Ireland. So, having that connection gives us a large database of buyers as well and keeps our standards up. I suppose internally within our business, my sister Caroline is also an auctioneer, and we would, I suppose, we've a great devotion to the business. The amount of hours we're putting in there is probably very strong. But we use systems like we're using the Repid system now, and in our office, and it's great to keep consistent. I suppose the big thing for us really is the personal service we provide. And I know you keep hearing about this personal service and you question what does it actually mean? And to me, it means to be able to contact somebody whenever you need to. Um, and that's very, very important.
And I would imagine, I'm going to blow smoke here slightly, if that's okay. I would imagine that you get people seeking you out and saying, I want to deal with Magella. I would imagine that happens because the amount of content you put out there, the amount of people who see you as a local expert and a national expert as well, I would imagine you get people that seek you out and go, I just want to deal with Magella.
I have got that. I was actually in a property appraisal yesterday and very touching. The owner said to me, "We trust you. We trust you with the sale of our property." And I suppose that's that's client satisfaction. It's rewarding, and it's a message to continue doing that because people do appreciate it.
Mm. If you could go back in time and sort of when you first got into the estate agency world, so obviously you kind of came back from Reading side of things, what would be the advice you'd give yourself to kind of give yourself a bit of a leg up? What are the mistakes you made earlier on that you think, actually, if I could avoid those, I would do?
Um, I think I would have. I think I would have, going back then, I thought everything was property related. That you keep studying property and that was it. But there's a wide, big circle around that. There's networking, there's marketing, there's going out there, getting involved and meeting people. And I think when you're in college, you forget about that, and you forget that the practical side of it. Like I was very involved in the business with my dad when I was here, so I was lucky I had the practical experience, which was a great foundation to me. But I definitely feel the more you get out there, join organizations, network, you're meeting people. And I think that's a very big part of this business.
Mm. I think it's, yeah, it's funny. I think someone put on LinkedIn the other day, what's the part of the property industry you like the most? And it was just like people, people, people,
Yeah.
people, people, people. Right away. It was very
It,
consistent to say the least.
yeah, absolutely. It's a people business. And I suppose, it always was and it always will be.
How do you balance having so many plates spinning at one time? Because you seem to have many things going on at once in the property world with regard to your qualifications, advanced learning, with regard to press, with regard to video content, with regard to actually listing and selling properties. How do you keep so many plates spinning and spinning well? And what advice would you give someone who maybe is struggling with the amount of sort of workload they're feeling every day?
Well, I suppose what really helps me is I love what I do. And I blend in, I suppose, business and pleasure a lot of the time. And, if I want to do a video of, say, if I'm down in Kinsale and I want to do a video, we're selling a property down there and I want to do a video of the area, I may be down there on a Sunday evening on a walk and I'm also doing my video. So it's trying to blend the two of them in, number one, but it's also getting your hobbies that you like. I recently took up golf. I do a lot of walking, and you meet a lot of people through your activities as well. So it's balance. But when Christmas came along, I gladly took my 2 weeks rest and came back fresh out. So it is, and that is something, Chris, that I had to learn over time is finding balance, because I think at the start I was driving in 100 kilometers an hour. That was it. Like, there was no stop. But you need your rest, and that is a big learning part for me.
How long did it take you to work out that you couldn't just go 100 mile an hour, as you say, the full time, and it couldn't just be like, working until 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night and then wake up and repeat it? Was there any particular stage where you kind of like burnt out, or is it just kind of like, you just like kind of, I don't know, just thought one day, actually, I'm working too hard and I'm burning the candle at both ends here?
I think for me it was about Because I'm involved in different networks and going to different talks about well-being and balance and organizing your day. And after going to a lot of them, Chris, I kind of began to think maybe there's a point to this. Maybe I will try it. And then I suppose I began to learn how to work more efficiently, and it could be less hours but more productive. Um, but it was definitely by going to these kind of events that it kind of sunk into me. And I'm not perfect yet. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, none of us are, I assure you. Don't worry. I will self throw myself under the bus here, and I'm a man who posts all the time about work life balance and having time aside. And there's many times where I'll be at my laptop until 10 o'clock at night, and I think to myself, I'm literally being a hypocrite right now because I should have closed this down a while ago. But I do.
But I think that's all going back to when you love what you do, it's hard to separate.
Exactly. When you've got a big comfortable chair and a laptop in front of you, sometimes it's hard to get up. So what can I say? So good. Excellent. So I would say that you've been very generous with your time, to say the least. I've got one last question, if that's okay. So if I was to launch Majella's Estate Agents tomorrow, and you were brand new and you had like a blank canvas in front of you, what are the big things you would focus on to make sure that business was as successful as it possibly could do?
I think number one would be having systems in place. I always say I nearly wanted to build a manual, so that somebody could come in off the street and run the business, especially for staff training. I think the other thing is marketing would be very important, getting yourself out there and not forgetting the traditional marketing. So whether it's newspapers, whatever the case may be, we have to cater for a wide range of age groups. A lot of the age groups, you're talking 50 years plus that we're dealing with. So while most of them are on Facebook now, a lot of them still buy the Saturday paper and they still want to read. So, it's varying your marketing mix is a big one there. And getting as much experience as possible. Um and continually learning, because I think you have to go into the business every day and think, how can I improve this? How can I provide a better client service? And the day that you think you have it perfect, I think that's when the business stops growing. You
Majella,
need
thank
to
you.
keep evolving.
What wise words to finish on. Thank you so much for being a brilliant guest there. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Chris.